Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to our long-awaited Luce Colloquium on Inclusive Excellence. This has been a long time coming, and I am so pleased that we are able to gather here this morning in our beautiful Payton Center. This colloquium today is part of Trinity's celebration of our 125th anniversary year. Isn't that great? We've been at this for 125 years, and every year it gets better and better. And we carry on grand traditions across those generations, even as we continue to discover new ways to do teaching and learning and inclusive excellence for new generations. The faculty panel that you'll hear from in a little bit is responsible for this day, and I want to thank all of them collectively and individually for your hard work. Thank you so very much. And I also want to thank Katie Omanich, who's over there in the corner running our Zoom webinar. Thank you, Katie. And Bill Reese, who's running the camera from this end. And I want to thank Dean Ramamurti and Dr. Ocampo, and most importantly, Kaitlin Tolliver, who did all of the logistical arrangements. Now, we would not be here today without the inspiration of two great colleagues. You will hear in a little bit from Makeda Richardson, our program officer at the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, fondly known as HHMI around here, who will speak in a few minutes. Back in 2016, as we were putting the finishing touches on this beautiful new Payton Center, thanks to Dr. Cindy Deboy and the faculty, there was a proposal that HHMI was considering to transform our science curriculum to get to inclusive excellence in our pedagogy. And fortunately, HHMI saw the wisdom in funding Trinity for that. It was $1 million grant over 5 years, a very large grant to do things we had never done before. And it's been beautiful. And you're going to hear about all of the outcomes of that investment today. Also, as this was happening and then being implemented, as many of you may know, Trinity has been part of the Clare Boothe Luce legacy since 1988, when Mrs. Luce's will was read, and we learned that we were one of the designated institutions of the Clare Boothe Luce program administered by the Henry Luce Foundation. Over the years, we've had many Clare Boothe Luce professors. How many Clare Boothe Luce professors here, current and alums? See, quite a few of our favorite faculty are Clare Boothe Luce professors. Clare Boothe Luce scholars. Do we have any of our Luce scholars here this morning? There we have several of our Clare Boothe Luce scholars. And you're going to hear from some of our Clare Boothe Luce scholar alums as we go through the programs for the next 2 days. So as we talked about the impact of the HHMI grant and also the work we do through the Clare Boothe Luce program for women in math and science, I was so delighted that Dr. Mariko Silver, who's the president of the Luce Foundation, recognized this work and said to me, well, you can't just keep it like a light under the bushel basket, only Trinity knowing how great this is. We have to tell the world. So this symposium, with a supporting grant from the Luce Foundation, thanks to Dr. Silver, has been in the planning process for 2 years. And we would have done it 2 years ago, but for, we know our friend, COVID. So COVID delayed some of our plans, but here we are today, finally launching. You will notice I'm not wearing a mask here. I will when I sit down. For those who are speaking, you may certainly take your masks off while you're speaking, and then please resume wearing them later on. But I know for speaking, sometimes it's easier to go maskless. But with all of this, I am very pleased to introduce our friend and colleague, Dr. Mariko Silver from the Clare Boothe Luce Foundation, who's going to speak to us on Zoom. And please join me in welcoming and thanking Dr. Silver.
Thank you so much, President McGuire, for that introduction. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. All good.
Great. Well, I'm sorry, very much sorry not to be there with you today, particularly as I heard all the excitement and the great chatter in the room as everyone was gathering. It's really always such a wonderful experience to be at Trinity. I had the opportunity, as President McGuire said, before the pandemic, to come and talk to so many of you. I can't see everyone who's in the room, but I'm sure a lot of the people I met that day are there in the room with you all. And I was just to put it bluntly, I was just blown away. And before I was the president of the Luse Foundation, I was the president of a college. I spent a lot of time working with other college presidents and other faculties on building inclusive curriculum. And I had never seen anything so committed, so deeply embedded in the thinking of the institution as what I saw at Trinity. And so, as President McGuire said, there's no way that you all should keep that light under a bushel, because what you all are doing is absolutely at the leading edge. To be frank, I think we hear too much about organizations and institutions that pat themselves on the back about being on the leading edge. As President McGuire said in one of her statements on the website for the DARE program, there's a lot of talk and there's not a lot of action. And in my experience, both before coming to the Luce Foundation and now seeing it from this vantage point, everything at Trinity is about action. And it is one of the things that I admire enormously, both about the leadership, the faculty, the students, and the entire culture of your institution. Sitting in that room with so many of you a few years ago, before we entered the space-time warp that is COVID, but sitting in that room a few years ago with so many of you and hearing about how you're rethinking the curriculum from the ground up, it's very clear, at least from where I sit, and President McGuire mentioned the Clare Boothe Luce program. We fund many institutions. The Clare Boothe Luce program is long-term committed to Trinity, but we also have a program in which we fund a wide range, competitively, a wide range of institutions to support the advancement of women in STEM. So we see a great variety of institutional approaches to improving equity, gender equity, as well as racial equity in STEM in particular. And I will say most of what we see is institutions struggling to wrap their heads around even what it would mean, truly, to create an approach that is inclusive and that assumes excellence. That assumes not only that excellence is possible, but that excellence already exists, that excellence is already present, and that the job of the curriculum and the faculty is to bring that excellence forward and to bring it to its highest possible value. And that's a very different task than what most institutions set themselves, which is often something like searching for needles in haystacks. That's the institutional psychology of a lot of organizations. That's very different from what I saw at Trinity. And I truly think that what you all are doing, frankly, if everyone were to do what you all are doing, then not only would there be greater equity and greater excellence in STEM and a more inclusive culture, but it sounds grandiose, but truly the world would be a better place. We would have more ideas. We would have more inspired leaders. And yes, we would have more equity. And we would have, frankly, more justice. And so I really was so deeply inspired. And I couldn't stand the thought of you all doing that, laboring away at Trinity and not having everyone know about it. So I'm so appreciative of all of those who work so hard, Katie and others who work so hard to make this symposium a reality and to make sure that others can learn more about everything that you're doing. If we could have persuaded, frankly, every chair of every STEM department, and now, as I know you are doing throughout the institution, every department in the country to come and see what you are doing, then I think that would be enormously transformational. So this is our way of inching in that direction, and I hope that there is more to come. And I'm so sorry not to be there with you all today, to continue to learn from you and to listen and to be in partnership with you. So thank you so much. I really look forward to learning, and I'm honored to at least be on the Zoom.
Thank you so much, Mariko. We are so moved by your praise and encouragement. And today is really just the beginning. It's not the end, because we do intend to take the results of what we're hearing today on the road and to proclaim this gospel. We believe deeply in social justice as part of our institutional mission. So we do intend to share this with colleagues and peers around the country, with media, and with funders as well. So your funding, the Luce funding, has been essential for Trinity's STEM development for the last 30, 35 years, actually. And we're so grateful to Mrs. Luce and to all of the great stewards at the Luce Foundation for supporting our faculty and students. The funding of the HHMI program has been essential to help the faculty learn the transformative pedagogy of inclusive excellence. And tomorrow morning, we're going to hear also from our friends at the Predominantly Black Institutions program at the U.S. Department of Education, who have also made up to as much, nearly $4 million available to us. The PBI program purchased most of the equipment in this building and some of the other resources that we've had. So it's been a great partnership, private-public funding. And as a result of that excellence, we were able to attract other funders for related causes. Funders like the Clark Foundation here in Washington, the K. Fritz Foundation, and others. It's not easy to get these major foundation grants. And they look to see, as you know, who else is in the mix, who else is funding, and what are you doing with the money that you get through the grants? And Trinity's been able to make that case. Now, we're so pleased to have Makeda Richardson here with us, who's going to talk to us about why the Howard Hughes Medical Institute believes so deeply in the need to create this program. Trinity was one of very few institutions from a large competitive pool. We were one of very few selected for the first tranche of grants from HHMI. And I am just so pleased that Makeda has been our program officer throughout all of this time, 5 years, and helped us all along the way. So please join me in welcoming Makeda Richardson, Program Officer from Howard Hughes Medical Institute.
I had to write my notes down. But good morning to everyone. Thank you, President McGuire. Thank you, Dr. Silver, as well, for those encouraging words. And thank you, Cynthia, so much for inviting me here today. It is with great excitement and much gratefulness that I stand here before you and to be present in this moment, in this space with all of you all. In May of 2015, as President McGuire had spoken about, Howard Hughes Medical Institute launched our Inclusive Excellence Initiative. It was, to me, what I describe as a call to action, wherein we challenged 1,500 colleges and universities, more than we had ever done before, in the United States to substantially and sustainably increase their capacity for inclusion of all students, especially students belonging to groups that are underrepresented in science. HHMI received 511 pre-proposals as a result of that first initial call to action. We invited 91 institutions to then submit full proposals. And in 2017, 24 institutions were awarded the Inclusive Excellence Grant, and President McGuire spoke to that kind of small pool, right? Trinity Washington University, Radford University, Towson University, and Virginia Tech were 4 of those 24 2017 Inclusive Excellence awardees. They are also partnering colleges and universities for Trinity Washington. I'm very proud of what Trinity Washington, as well as what their partnering colleges and universities, what we call PICs, but they're the peer implementation clusters, have been able to accomplish. These IE teams have continued and to uplift one another. They continue to challenge the status quo. And for those that know me very well, that is something that is always near and dear to me. And they push their institutions to create a culture wherein all students will have a meaningful and positive experience in science. Even when this world and all of us are met with unprecedented challenges. COVID-19, this country's racial reality and reckoning, as well as climate change. And yes, unprecedented opportunities. The appointment and election of Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. Yes, yes. the appointment of Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. So I bring these to light to say that even when we are faced with unprecedented challenges, there are also unprecedented opportunities for change. These inclusive excellence teams also have continued to model for us what it means to be caring, bold, and brave leaders. And so I encourage all of us to follow. Let us be concerned with not only the work of our institutions and organizations, but be concerned about the well-being of one another. Let us seek truth with the willingness to learn, listen, envision a new normal, and lead the change that we would like to see. Let us intentionally step into being uncomfortable. Lean into challenges, lean into discomfort, lean into equity, lean into justice, and lean into change. From there, you move forward in a space informed by what you have learned, with an openness to continuous learning and continuous change. Finally, I will send you off with a call to action. Let us all fight for the things that we care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join us. Welcome and thank you.
Isn't she great? You know why we love her, right? What a wonderful call to action. And I love what you said about leading into what makes us uncomfortable. You know, there's a great debate in education right now with some states and some governors saying we should not teach divisive concepts. And, you know, nothing could be farther from the truth. Education is all about divisive concepts and debate and struggle and clash of ideas. That's why we do what we do. And I'm so proud of Trinity for being able to stand up for that and say, no, this is what's right. We should be challenging ourselves and the world we influence around all of the issues that are so important. When I see our scientists here and the wonderful work we do, I'm especially mindful of the raging debates that are occurring in this country around everything from climate change and environmental sustainability to COVID and disease and how you control disease and what's the science behind solutions versus what is mere political opinion. And we're right in the white hot center of all of these debates. So our faculty are preparing you, our students and the next generations to carry on with this wonderful tradition of leaning in to what makes us uncomfortable, which frankly, if the Sisters of Notre Dame hadn't leaned into what made them uncomfortable in 1897, we wouldn't have been here, right, Sister Mary? I see Sister Mary Hayes, our archivist. When they tried to start Trinity in 1897, there was so much opposition. There were newspaper articles decrying the idea of women's higher education. There were people in the Catholic Church who said women should not go to college. And the sisters persisted in what made them uncomfortable because they wanted to create change for women. And they'd be so proud of Trinity today, those founders, if they were here. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to our wonderful panel of faculty experts. And Dr. Cindy Deboy, are you leading the panel? Are you the moderator? Dr. Deboy has been our project director for the HHMI grant. She is a Clare Boothe Luse professor. I see the faculty want to cheer. Let's cheer for Dr. Deboy. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you so much, President McGuire, for that introduction, and thank you to all of you for being here today. So we put our slides up. Thank you. And while Katie's setting up the slides, I will go ahead and introduce our team. So we have Dr. Moss joining us on Zoom. So I don't know if we can see her, but Dr. Moss is here with us. And then we have Dr. Kerry Luse, Dr. Mia Ray, Dr. Patrice Nielson, Dr. Luce, Dr. Anette Casiano, and Dr. Jacob Hsieh. And so this is our STEM team, and I'm very proud to be here with them because I think it's just amazing STEM team you will find anywhere. So, with that, there's Dr. Mott. Dr. Luce is going to start us off with an activity. Maybe doesn't seem to be working. It's on one side.
Oh, now sorry. Here we go. Recording in progress.
There we go. There's not much on the slide, but still it's good to have a starting point. So I just wanted to start with a question. In particular, what do you notice? What do you see in our room, in our setup today? What do you wonder as you look around the room? Does anyone have anything to see or notice? There are strings, yeah. That's one thing that you might notice. Did anyone notice something else? Okay, well let's go with the strings then. What are the strings here for? Any ideas?
For a hands-on activity, maybe?
Very good, yes.
Yes.
So we are going to do a little hands-on activity with the strings. So you should have plenty of strings around the room. If you're joining us from home, the good news is anything that's about as long as your arm is going to work. So if you have a computer cord next to you or cell phone cord, anything like that will work. So go ahead and pick up your string, and you're going to hold one end by your nose between your eyes. And you're going to stretch the other end out in front of you. You're going to look. Don't be shy. We all look kind of silly. Go ahead. Look at your string. Look at your fingers. Think about what you see. Hold it nice and tight. Now, turn to your neighbor and tell them what you saw. You can put the strings down. We don't want to hurt anybody.
Oh, we have.
What did you see?
Did you see a straight line? Oh, yeah, I did see double vision. I did see double vision.
Would anybody like to share what they saw when they looked at their string? Murphy, what did you see?
I thought it looked more fuzzier than you can just see it like this.
Okay, so it looked a little fuzzy when you were trying to look at it real close.
Yep.
Somebody else?
I could see the farther end more clearly than the part closer to my nose.
The farther end looked more clear to you. Okay. Anyone on the panel here want to say what they saw? Annette, what did you see?
So I agree with her comment, but also you can focus more, like you were able to focus more on one point. And I'd be able to see somebody more. Like once
Okay.
you look at the thing.
All right, so that's all really interesting. Second follow-up question is, did you see the exact same thing as your neighbor? No, you didn't. Of course you didn't, because we all bring different perspectives. We all see things differently. We all see the world differently. We all see our string differently. And by extension, we all do science differently. And so we need to have everybody in the lab. We need to have everybody in the classroom. And in really anything we do, we need all those different perspectives to make sure that we're seeing things in all different possible ways. So
That is our little opening.
Very good.
So we hope that that's just a little activity so that you can see how there are so many different perspectives. And we bring that to the concept of inclusive excellence. And so we start with, well, what is inclusive excellence? What does it mean? Well, if we recognize that everyone has different perspectives, then we recognize that not only do we need to include, but we have to bring that, we have to recognize the value that those perspectives bring. And so inclusive excellence is recognizing value and empowering all of those voices. And that's the focus of what we're trying to do. And so one of the ways that we started to do that was to evaluate and revise our policies to reduce barriers, to support our students, to support success for students in science. So all right, so this is a diagram to show how we're going about doing this. And so one of the first things we had to look at was, where are barriers to inclusive excellence? And we see that we need to understand what our students are going through. Who are our students? Recognizing that our students have commitments outside of the classroom, work, family, other commitments. And we need to support belonging in STEM, in the classroom, at Trinity. We need to foster a growth mindset. What are the structures at Trinity, the policies that we need to evaluate and revise? So what support programs do we have? What resources do we have on campus? And how accessible are those to students? What about our prerequisites? Are those barriers or are those supporting our students? And when do our students have a chance to meet their STEM faculty? So we've looked at these structures and we've worked to revise it so that students hopefully have more access to the resources on campus. We've modified our prerequisites so that instead of having first year classes always sequential, 101 to 102, we have more flexibility in the program. Students meet their STEM faculty in their first year, not their second. So we took those ideas, those concepts of barriers, and we created, so we had to put all of this into the curriculum. And we call this the Trinity Excel program. So that's excellence times confidence equals leadership. And so the first aspect of this was we, your faculty, needed to go to training. We needed to go back to school. We needed to learn. And with what we've learned, we revised the program to increase flexibility, to provide a structure for mentorship. We know that mentorship is important. How can we put that into the curriculum so that every student has the opportunity for mentorship? And interdisciplinary course design. So this includes experiential learning opportunities, which we know are so important as well. Maybe we should just have you advance it. It doesn't seem to work. Yeah. So as far as professional development opportunities, these are just some pictures of your faculty going back to school. And what did we learn? We talked about cultural competency, implicit bias, combating microaggressions. How do we motivate you as students? What's helpful to you? How do we empower you as students? How can we form collaborations with you as students? And what approaches did we take? We had workshop formats. We did journal club. We had short discussions at faculty meetings. And we learned as a community. And so what curricular changes did we make? Well, we talked about that flexibility. So in cases where prerequisites really weren't necessary, we eliminated them, but we also kept them because prerequisites can be helpful so that students are prepared for the next class. We have different pathways so that if students pass one of the 100 level courses, for example, they can go on to the second level as long as those prerequisites are met. So it's not holding students back from moving forward. What about mentorship? Well, first of all, in our program goals, we essentially institutionalize this by adding program goals for academic and social integration and for the importance of career development. So that's in our goals as a program. We want to make that happen. We will assess that that's happening. We implemented, as our students know, mentor moment classes. So these are 4 one-credit classes scaffolded throughout the 4 years of the program. The first one is to support belonging. Second one, to support student success strategies. Third one, to support obtaining experiential learning. And the fourth one, to prepare students for a future in STEM. And because we know the value of experiential learning, we have made it a requirement. This helps achieve equity because it doesn't mean that students have to find it necessarily over the summer and may or may not be paid. Every student has this experience and it's required. And in our program, we help support students to acquire those experiences.
So one thing, when I came to Trinity in 2012, I never thought that one of my favorite classes that I would teach here would be a non-science class. But every fall semester, I have a great group of students. I teach Mentor Moments 1, and this is a great slide to just show you a good overview of the things that we are teaching the students in those Mentor Moment classes. And these classes are building on one another, where in the first year, they concentrate on building a growth mindset, identifying struggles. It also allows me as a professor who never would have seen the student until their junior or senior year at Trinity, now an opportunity to really get to know them in their first year. And so because of that, we're really more connected and we're creating more of a community environment and cohort. And these cohorts move from their first year to their second year, where they then learn more about communication skills. They explore different careers and still learn about normalizing struggles and things like that. Whereas in the third year, we're really preparing them for their experiential learning opportunity, building a CV, talking about personal statements and how important networking is. And then in their final year, we really do concentrate on what is your life going to be like after Trinity? How about those goals that you set for yourself in your first year of Mentor Moments? What do they look like now in your fourth year? Are you close to accomplishing them? What new goals have you set for yourself? And so it is a wonderful opportunity. Next slide. So this is one opportunity. It's an example that at least 4 times throughout the semester, we actually get all 4 of the Mentor Moment groups together. And we do this to allow other faculty members to get to know other students that are in the class and definitely mix them up. It also allows our first year students to talk with our fourth year students or our sophomore and junior students and really talk about, successes and struggles and learn more. This is one of my favorite things is the vision board that we create during our first year. And so students are tasked to first create goals and then create a visual representation of those goals on using collages or when we were virtual digital print. And so these are examples of quotes of how doing that really did bring a sense of belonging, motivation, a sense of hard work. I want to highlight this picture here where a student said that when they were looking through the magazine, they did not see themselves there. So they created the image in their vision of what they wanted. So this is an example of an impactful activity that we do. Next slide. So another question is, what effect do these mentor streams have on students? And some of the themes that we have found through reflections from those students and also from professors is that it really is building belonging and connection, not only with their peers and each other, but also with their faculty members as well. And so it also helps to normalize struggles. I know that I explain to my students some of the struggles that I experienced being a college student in life. And so they can see that paths are not always straight. Sometimes they're crooked and bendy, and how, even it shows resilience as well. And they also show me how resilient they are when we share our experiences. So that, I think, not only is that my experience, but I think other people who also teach mentor moments, they experience those same things as well. Next slide. So with regards to student belonging, we also, student belonging, it could be mean a lot of different things. Student belonging in science or just belonging at Trinity. So if you can advance it a little bit more, I think we have some quotes about how at Trinity, students are seeing a sense of belonging with their professors. They're getting to know the professors. They can confide in their professors. One thing that when I first started teaching at Trinity, students told me was, my professor's intimidating. And so it really does bring down that wall and allow students to see us as people. And so I think because of that, there's more of a connection with professors. They are seeing more of a connection with their peers. We have a lot of commuter students, and so sometimes they're here for their class and then they're out, and they're really not building a connection with their fellow students. And so this again gives them an opportunity to really talk to people in their same grade or others that then they see, oh, we have a shared experience, and it builds a sense of community and belonging here at Trinity. But also there's also the science piece. And so our students are also having a sense of belonging within the science community and seeing themselves more as being a part of the science community as well. And these are just a few quotes that our students have stated about these different things. All right, next slide.
So besides our mentor moments courses that we had implemented, we also wanted to bring these inclusive practices to our courses. And after taking all the different professional developments on this topic, we realized that we were already doing that, but we now wanted to make it better and be more effective, like see how to be more effective and more intentional about it. And some of the things we started doing to create a more inclusive environment in our courses, we're revising the syllabi, just making that document that has all the policies more accessible for our students. Not just the taking out jargon that sometimes the students do not understand, making the wording simpler, but also including visuals in our syllabi or changing the format that we usually will use. On the top picture over there says, who is teaching K111 lectures? So those are some avatars Dr. Hsieh and I created. We're co-teaching that course, and we wanted to really bring something fun to our syllabus. So this is towards the end of COVID, so of course we wanted to create some avatars to just put it in there. In addition to that, we wanted to spend more time learning more about our students. We will normally already do that, right? But again, we want to be more intentional about it. I want to know your name. How do I pronounce it? I want to know what you're doing afterwards. Do you like this subject? What can I do to make this class better so you learn the material more efficiently? And one of the last examples is that we started also providing more choices for students. For example, for creating an assignment, right? Like the picture shown on the bottom, it was a tie-dye experiment that our organic chemistry students just performed some weeks ago. We're trying to describe the chemistry behind this art. So we just allow the students choose whichever dye you want to use for your for your tie-dye experience, also choose what kind of designs you want to do. So it just made the experience much more fun. The students were more engaged and they were actually pretty excited when they saw their final designs. And we took that picture right after they started guiding their teachers. So these are some ways how we are bringing more inclusive practices into our courses.
So we also changed how we teach and what we teach, learning so much from the faculty development, right, going back to school. So first of all, what would a classroom actually look like? It would not look like this at all. In fact, our classrooms are active because one thing we learned is we need to listen to the students, hear from the students, rather than hearing from ourselves in the classrooms. One way we can do that is in a flipped classroom. So here are some photos of organic chemistry, right? Folks are up there at the board answering questions and the professor is walking around and addressing each one, right, of those groups and talking about aspects of what it is that those students drew on the board. I've been using interactive slides, which I love because it allows me to look at every single student's rendition of an electron pushing diagram for a mechanism or a calculation. And I can look at those, they're anonymous, I can share them with the class. And I find it really educational to me, right, to understand what the students might be thinking. So that's a little bit about how we teach. There's so many other active classroom activities that my colleagues do, and I applaud them for that. The other thing is what do we teach? We aim to make connections. So a really good example is up in the corner from Math 102, which is one of the classes that the STEM majors take even before they have taken a science course. And so Dr. Luse and our colleagues make it clear, right, that the math that they're learning is going to have applications later and pointing those out so that those connections are actually made. If we're teaching something in chemistry like gas laws, well, where does that actually apply? It applies in physiology. And so we try to make that connection. And for me, it means learning a lot, and it means also talking to my colleagues. Oh, this one's one of my favorites. Another thing about, how and what we actually teach. So we are gifted with an instrumentation that President McGuire mentioned, and being able to have students use that instrumentation early on, as early as their first semester doing science is great, especially when it's in the context of an independent project. So I'll give a plug for Chem 111 students who have posters out there on their projects to decontaminate water or to figure out how much food coloring there's in Jell-O. And I really give them no instructions at all. I give them the problem. And within weeks, they come up with a solution. And we're able to use the instrumentation to see the success of their projects. There's also some great photos here from organic chemistry, where Annette's been doing some amazing work with new instrumentation so that students can analyze what chemicals are in CBD lotions and products, things that are of real interest to the students. And Annette's going to talk a little bit about how that can even become further and even more than just a project, right? So that we're doing course-based undergraduate research. Thank you, Annette. Annette's like,
So like Dr. Hsieh mentioned, right, we want to bring that experiential learning to the classroom. We want to start our students here with us, right, and teach them about research. And it's been very close to me to include a QR component to our organic chemistry lab. And I just ran the first pilot where what we did was the first part of the semester, we spent time learning techniques, learning more about organic chemistry and so on. And then we started running our QR module. So QR stands for course undergraduate research experience. So what we did was I gave them a criteria and I gave them an overall topic, and they had to go out there. I divided them also in groups, and they had to go out there and come up with their questions. So they had to do some literature research, something like you would do in the real research, right? They had to come up with their question. They came up with their hypothesis. their methodology too. So they have to put into practice what they have learned, and they have to put an experimental design that I had to approve, right? So once we worked out our experimental design, that's when the fun part started, right? So they came to the lab, and as you can see in the middle picture there, they arrived and they found the bench full with all the materials that they needed. And the students were really, really excited seeing their materials there, their chemicals, like this is something that they are creating, something they're working. So they got right into work, and that's when you see these two pictures, the end, top and the bottom. The students are working, trying to answer their questions. And some students were able to run some experiments and really quickly get their answers, but some didn't. So they have to repeat the experiment. And that is exactly what happens in research. I had comments from students saying, oh my God, I really love this. I didn't know what research was. Now I understand what you're saying. Now I understand how to maneuver and go through an experiment to get our answers. At the end, I had them analyze the data and report their findings to me. So I think overall, I really loved the experience, and most importantly, bringing that experiential learning to the classroom and getting them ready for when they go out there.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So that was a great segue. Thank you, Dr. Castellano. Experiential learning is something that we have instituted as a part of our curriculum revision. And this came from really years of our students, a small subset of our students competing and gaining entry into undergraduate research experiences off Trinity's campus. I mean, we've had students at Stanford and Harvard and NIH and just across the country. And we noticed just how impactful, we see it in the literature, but we also notice it with our students, how impactful those experiences are. And just a small plug, if you look at some of those videos that are looping through in the break, you will see the result of these experiences from some of our CBL scholars who have graduated and who are doing great things in professional school and employment and things of that nature. So stay tuned and watch those. But anyhow, so we decided to implement those as a requirement for our students, as Dr. Deboy mentioned earlier in the introduction. And we have found that, so we have been successful as students getting placed. We have been successful as students enjoying their experiences and not so much enjoying them, but learning and really understanding what it takes to meld your passion with the preparation that you have experienced in the classroom, right? So our students go on to present at conferences. This is something we have been doing for years. That our students pretty much have participated in one conference, the annual Biomedical Research Conference for minority students, since about 2014. They have been going there, presenting their research. We have had students win awards. And beyond that, we have had students come back with other opportunities. So it's just a great networking event and experience for our students. The past few years it's been virtual, but we have still come back with some awards and we have still come back with some opportunities. And so experiential learning has been a little difficult during the pandemic, but you know, when Trinity sees the challenge, we get excited, and our faculty have stepped in and stepped up and have trained our students in the pandemic. And these students are still going to conferences. They have gone to Society of Toxicology. They have gone to Abercrombs. They have gone to AAAS, and they have presented work and they have gotten a lot of praise and accolades for that. So we are excited about this particular component of our program, and we look forward to, you know, the other experiences that our students have. Next slide, please.
So another way that we've been supporting the students within the curriculum structure itself is with our embedded tutor program. So it started with a few courses in the STEM disciplines, Math 102, Chem 111, and Physics 111. And you can see that we've grown tremendously, thanks in big support from our HHMI. But we've also then extended this inclusive excellence is not staying in STEM, it's going all across the disciplines. And so we've extended the embedded tutors into our other foundational math courses in support of our other student majors. our humanities and our pre-nursing students. And the students are in the classroom, the peer tutors are in the classroom with the students. So it's another opportunity for the younger students to meet some of the older students. It's an opportunity to get help in the moment for some of the students who have more trouble staying late or hooking up with the peer tutors at other times. So this is, it's been a really useful situation. The tutors themselves get the chance to be the mentors, and they get to reinforce their own learning. Everyone knows that when you explain something, you learn it better. So this has been a benefit for all of the students all the way around. We do have some data that's showing the success of our program. So this particular graph focuses on the foundational math courses, where one of the things that we're most proud of is that we do have a significant proportion, the proportion of students passing their classes at the B- level or higher is higher for the students in the courses with tutors than without. So it's been really encouraging to see that kind of the students are passing the courses and their understanding is at a higher level, which is really what we're hoping for. This slide just shows us some feedback from both the students in the classroom and the tutors who are helping them. So the students in the classrooms are telling us that the tutors are really doing their job. They're helping them complete their work, feeling more confident about their work, not doubting themselves. The students are definitely indicating that the fact that the tutor is in the class with them has been extremely helpful to them. And the tutors themselves have been really positive as well. I had one tutor who is both a peer tutor and an embedded tutor, and she said she really, really enjoyed being in the class with the students, being able to fully understand how the professor has explained something so that she can reinforce not necessarily the exact same approach, but can tackle the problem in a way that's familiar to the student, which is often very helpful. The other two tutors I have up here are from our non-STEM foundational courses, and what we're really seeing there is the opportunity for mentoring to take place between the older students and the newer students. For the students who aren't in the mentor streams with the Mentor Moments courses, it's giving them this extra opportunity to really engage with each other, get recommendations. What courses am I supposed to take next semester? How did you manage to do all these things? And they're really looking up to the tutors. So it's been a really great experience.
So we've told you a lot about our program, but you may be asking, is it working? So here's some data to suggest that yes, it is working. This shows you how average pass rates for students completing introductory biology classes have increased considerably from the old program, the old course, to our new course. And so this is two cohorts together, and you can see the rise in pass rates. Next slide, please. Another way to look at whether or not our revised curricular structure is successful is asking whether we retain students from first to second year classes or from first courses to second classes. Because what we found in the past was that the place we would lose students was in that first course. And so if you look at this, this is statistically significant for all of our STEM students out there who know what that means. See the little asterisk up there? It is statistically significant and it is increasing. So what this looked at is for all of the students who took a first science class, did they go on to a second, the next class, a second level class? And you can see that before HHMI program, it was much lower than it is now. And you can see the quote that we selected to help show what a first year student might experience. They feel more confident. Growth mindset is an important factor. The student with growth mindset, a student feels more confident challenging herself to work to understand. In this case, she's talking about math. And she's proud that she has improved. Next slide, please. So I talked about going from first to second year classes, but but what about first to upper level classes, 300 level classes, 400 level classes? Well, you can see that, yes, we are retaining our students at high levels as well, from early 100 level classes to the 300, 400 level classes. And what you can see here is the number of students who enter and pass senior seminar has doubled. So this is an average from 2016 to 2019, and we're seeing a doubling of students. So the numbers of students who are now graduating, moving through the program, have increased. Next slide, please.
Cindy. So besides student retention, we also measure sense of belonging. The reason is sense of belonging is our goal, and also help explain why the student retention is increasing. So in the literature, we can see that student sense of belonging is associated with their academic success and their retention rate. But when lacking a community within STEM, especially for women and students who are underrepresented, is associated with decreased persistence. Next slide, please. So what are the factors in the literature showing that can positively influence students' belonging? Include faculty mentoring, peers with similar backgrounds, co-curricular activities, contact with faculty outside classroom, and living on campus. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right, so here is more data. So we can see on the left hand is at the beginning of the semester and at the end of the semester, we ask students to take a survey. And in the survey, we measure their sense of belonging in science with 7 lecture skill questions. So number 1 means they have a very low sense of belonging in science. And number 7 means they have a very high level sense of belonging. From the data we can see on the left, showing you their level of sense of belonging in science at the beginning. And it's pretty high, and that's pretty normal because they're freshmen. They came here and study science, they're very excited, high level of sense of belonging. That's very common. But in the literature, we often say, because of taking classes, taking math, taking science, they have challenges, we see usually a dramatic drop of sense of belonging in science. It's very common. But what we see at Trinity is that when we land the data, oh, there's no significant increase, but we maintain their high level of sense of belonging in science itself is a great achievement. And Cindy continued, we also collected qualitative data to measure the science belonging in science. Cindy will talk about this slide.
So what we did was we asked students to give a reflection at the beginning of their mental moment class. So this is when they first practically walk in the door at Trinity. And then again, similar questions at the end of their mentor moment class, freshmen. And what we see when they walk in the door, so this helps us understand, one, how do they feel at the beginning? What's attributing to this high level of belonging? And then how is it persisting, or is it changing? Can we tell any differences in the words that they use? And we can feel that excitement. They're here, they've got a scholarship, they're defying the odds, they're first generation, such pride, they feel accepted. We also hear quite a few students talk about being scared, or they are defying that pressure their families putting on them not to attend. So a mixture of being excited and proud at the beginning, but through the sense of safety, acceptance, support by faculty, we hear an even more powerful narrative at the end of that mental health class. We hear students use words like valued, empowered, supported, comfortable. So while our numbers are showing only about a 0.1 increase on the Likert scale, the words our students are using are suggesting that there is something very powerful going on.
Right. So when you see the data, the student retention is increasing, they maintain their high sense of belonging in science. So it's no surprise that we have to see when we ask students, what's your plan to fulfill your future? Do you see yourself pursuing a career or pursuing graduate school in science? And the results showing that from mentor moment 1 to mentor moment 3, there is a significant increase. The possibility to pursue a career in science or graduate school in science is significantly increasing. So this is data we collected at the end of the semester. So we collected their plan in the future in science at the beginning in the semester when they were taking mentor moment 1, and again at the semester taking mentor moment 2 and 3. You can see that students through those with the support of the mentor moment course, the program, and their possibility to pursue STEM career or science career is significantly increasing. We also have quality data showing what they are thinking through their reflections. So one student said that my goals remain the same, but I have so much more perspective and don't intend to limit myself only to becoming a doctor. I am now intrigued by the scientific research community and would like to pursue an MD or PhD program. Another student, more confidence in myself, more sure of the career path I want to follow. I have grown so much as a scientist in being able to put the hard work and knowing how to perform and experiment to the best of my ability and have the confidence to show off my work. It's been something that has grown and improved throughout my 4 years at Trinity. Accept it. So the overall impact of our program on the student is that we are empowering the students for success. So at the end of the semester, we asked students to answer some open-ended questions. One of them is, what do you feel at Trinity? And here are some quotes from students. As a student at Trinity, I feel empowered. I never saw myself attending a women's college. However, surrounded by all females that have goals and aspirations empowers me and makes me feel like I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. As a student at Trinity, I feel part of a social involvement and that my background does not define society's self-prophecy over the expectations set upon me because of my Hispanic culture. I can change and do more extraordinary things than in my past generation. At Trinity, I feel that my mind is resetting into the mindfulness of my choices. I guess I'm nurtured, and that Trinity prepares me as a woman to face an obstacle and be resilient to what challenges may bring. And behind all this success, I have said our faculty plays a very key part in this success. And not even the students are empowered. You can see that I look different from our team because I'm not faculty, I'm not full-time teaching faculty. I was hired by the program to assess the program's impact. And as a colleague, this faculty community is so powerful that I even been here for several months, I'm empowered. So it's not my job description to teach a course, but this semester, before this semester, I said I had to teach because during the lunch breaks, they all talk about teaching. It's all about how sports students. So this is the switch research I can never do. It's just walk into any college to go to a lunchroom and to listen to what the faculty are talking about. I guarantee you, it's very difficult for you to find another college that the faculty is so passionate and connected to teaching and support students. So this is at the end of the semester, these are the word cloud analysis result. So at the end of the semester, in the survey, we asked them how to think of the faculty at Trinity. And those are the words, the bigger the word, the frequency they are. They perceive the student, perceive the faculty as understanding, supportive, helpful, caring, helpful. Like, yeah, it's all traits there. And that's a great achievement. And that was achieved by hard work from because the faculty really work really hard. They're so passionate to go to the professional activities. And these are from faculty reflections. So the best thing that has come out of the training is the idea of using growth mindset. Yeah, it's there. And studies about how the brain works as part of teaching science, both concepts and process. I find that training sessions related to community building, inclusion, and motivation really help us to formulate a strategy to enhance a sense of sisterhood amongst our STEM majors. We have overcome obstacles, learned new ways to implement and communicate our ideas, and have been able to tap into our ingenuity to develop novel and exciting ways to educate and inspire our students. It is funny, in the process of us trying to enhance the academic experience of our students, we have indeed enriched our own lives, personally and professionally, by intentionally infusing inclusive practices into every day. I believe we all are looking through a new set of lenses now. I think this is strong evidence that we have, through the grant, through the program, we have some in-student change that's gonna be still here after the grant has running out. So I will give the mic to Dr. Nielson to continue to talk about IXL.
Go ahead and go to the next slide. There we go. We have expanded some of these initial core programs and continue to grow this inclusive excellence. One way that we've done that is through what we call IXL. We took the original Excel program geared more towards students. The I stands for instructor. So this is more expanded faculty development. We have been running an IXL Institute, where we focus on workshops and small focus groups to redo things like rubrics, assignments, course policies to include culturally responsive teaching, flexibility, inclusive practices, culturally affirming assessments, things that really incorporate some student voice, student choice, and connecting with our students. And this is multidisciplinary, cross-university, different programs and everything. Next slide, please. We've also expanded our programs to include an environmental justice minor that is brand new. This incorporates courses from the science side, things like biology, chemistry, ecology, some environmental studies, and also from our sociology and social justice side of the university's mission. Different courses in global affairs, sociology, politics, business, ethics to incorporate that human element in environmental justice. This is open to all majors. It fits especially well with some of our other big programs like the global affairs, business administration, and some of our STEM majors. Next slide. We've also expanded to include a data analytics minor to help students increase some of their technological literacy, prepare students for specific opportunities in different career paths, and also broaden some of their participation in the fast-growing technology and data fields. One more. One of the big parts of this is something called the Capital Co-Lab. This is a large collaborative organization between businesses and universities, and some of these are big firms: Amazon, Microsoft, Capital One, Northrop Grumman. And these focus both on employers identifying and clearly expressing their needs, and academic institutions being able to prepare students for specific opportunities for future employment. It's an organization for a future employment pipeline, basically. And then some of the courses in our data analytics minor, there's introduction, some information on programming. It incorporates ethics, how to visualize, communicate, manipulate data, and that can be applied to many, many different fields.
So one more thing to discuss. I hope you're still with us. So we recently obtained funding from the Henry Sloan Foundation to fund a pilot project titled the Trinity Hopkins SURE program. And SURE, next slide. I hit it on my computer. Next slide, please. SURE stands for Summer Undergraduate Research Excellence. You can pop up the rest of the slide. Thank you. And the goal of this partnership is to create equitable pathways to graduate STEM education. So we are talking a lot about what we're doing here on Trinity and with our undergraduate curriculum, but it doesn't end here, and we don't want our students to end here. We want them to keep going and move on and persist in STEM until they just can't stand it anymore. So we have this partnership with Hopkins where we have created The program is a year-long program where we will select scholars to participate in coursework, to participate in experiences and interactions with our faculty as well as Hopkins faculty to prepare them for a summer undergraduate research experience at Johns Hopkins. And so we're just really excited about this program because not only are we preparing them to do the research, we are preparing the Hopkins environment to be inclusive and to be as loving and doting and accepting of our students as we are, right? So the goal, we have some, you see some desired outcomes on the screen. I won't read them all, but number 3 is what I'm most excited about: to impact the mindset and pedagogical strategies of the Hopkins team members, right? We want to infuse, we want to spread the inclusive love. We want to take what we have learned and we want to create this community of practice with our Hopkins colleagues to say, you know, this is how you do it. This is what we do. This is what we would enjoy and would like our students to experience. And guess what? If you can feed this into them, they'll give you twice as much back because that's what we've experienced. And so we are just trying to use this pilot project to open up another opportunity for our students, one, to gain experience. And one of the most beautiful things that we appreciate about this is that there is no citizenship requirement for this program. We have a huge hurdle at Trinity and just across the country with providing opportunities or exposing our students who have citizenship, you know, battles and struggles, and it's a barrier, right? And so this program allows any student at Trinity to apply and reap the benefits of everything that's being poured into what we have structured. So that's something we are super, super excited about. Next slide, please. These are just some of the highlights of the program. I won't go through them all, but I think the number one highlight is that the students get paid. Right? That's a big deal, right? The students get a stipend. They get money towards their studies. They get money just, you know, for whatever. They go to Chipotle. I don't know. But to help them stay focused as students and be focused on their education as a STEM scholar, right? Another thing that's super important is that we are instituting professional development for our Hopkins team, and we'll be in there too, but it's we'll be inviting persons to talk about how do we create inclusive research environments? What does that look like, right? Because this is what we want you to do when our students come into your midst. There's mentoring. The students will be able to stay at Hopkins in the summer, so they don't have to worry about coming up and down the parkway and that stress and everything like that. And of course, my favorite, conference travel, because, you know, we got to go on tour. We got to have a party, right, with the research and tell everybody all the great things we're doing. So we're just excited about this program. We're excited about the barriers that it's going to break. We're excited about the conversations we're going to have. We've already started putting things in place. And the next phase is to put the call out to identify our scholars. Next slide, please. So we've heard a lot today. We hope you stayed with us the whole time. It's just that we have so much to say. We have so many great things going on at Trinity in the STEM and beyond. And when we initially were writing for this HHMI grant, you know, we were like, oh yeah, we're going to flip our science curriculum inside out. It's going to be great. It's going to be so inclusive. We're going to be the most inclusive place on earth, right? But as we were going through this process and we were just seeing the impact, we realized that it's beyond STEM. It's beyond our classes. It's beyond us, right? This inclusive excellence is something that has to be threaded throughout the entire academic culture, from the students all the way up to the president. And we realize that these type of forums, right, are what is important for us to spread this word and to spread, like I said, the inclusive love that we have here at Trinity. We realize that it takes more than just the people in this room to break down these barriers and broaden participation. We realize that inclusive excellence is not just a phrase, a buzzword, a term, a grant call. It is a way of life. Just like we tell our students about the content we teach them, we have to live it. We have to breathe it. We have to eat it, sleep it. It has to be a part of us. It has to be infused throughout us for us to be able to really create an environment of inclusive excellence. That's the only way we are going to break down barriers so our students can break glass ceilings. So we thank you for your attention, and we thank you for riding this wave with us the past 40 minutes or so. And we are now going to open the session for Q&A. I believe you can put Q&A in the chat, and whomever's in the space to ask us questions. We want to have a conversation, so let's talk.
Questions, anyone?
Like there's a question in the chat. So there's not a question, but it is Dr. Noonan is congratulating you all on your lab work. So I came a little late. I'm not sure if you were talking about with the short program.
I came in a little bit late, so I just wanted to ask you to go over a little bit for the short program.
Dr. Mouse? You want to-
Sure. Is there a specific question? I didn't hear the beginning of your question. I'm sorry.
Just an overview of it, just because I came in a little bit late.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the SURE program is a year-long program. The plan is we are going to infuse undergraduate research experience within our courses in the fall. Right. That's something we're working on, kind of cure-based, authentic undergraduate research experiences. The only difference is that what the special or cool part about it is that we will be working with Hopkins faculty to do that. So, for example, let's say a lab that's interested in training our students works on cardiovascular health or something, right? Our goal is to try to infuse some of that into our courses, the techniques they use, the content, the literature, or whatever have you, so that you are prepared to have those conversations about cardiovascular health when you go into that lab in the summer. Additionally, there will be a course in the spring that will help you to just learn what research excellence is. What is ethics? What is keeping a lab notebook? What does it mean to give a journal club? What does it mean to talk about your work and go to conferences and things like that? It'll be more poignant on that. And that also is going to include interactions with Hopkins faculty. And then all of this is going to prepare you for a 10-week experience at Hopkins, where you will be doing research in a lab with a mentor that you already know because you've been talking to them and with them throughout the academic year. So a call for those applications, because you do have to apply, will go out very shortly. I'm hoping to get it out by next week. With all the criteria and the due dates and things like that, because we want to have our cohort in place by the summer so we can start connecting with you all and starting the conversations. Now, I will say this to some of the students who may apply or may not apply. Even if you are not a part of the SURE program, you still are going to take the classes. So you're still, because it's going to be a part of the curriculum, you're still going to get the experience. You're still going to be free to take the research excellence class. Let's say you already have a summer internship lined up, at NIH or somewhere. You can take the research excellence class just to prepare you for what you may see in that space. So it is inclusive in a way that you will get the content, but kind of exclusive if you don't join the program. So that's kind of what the program is. There are stipends for students. There's mentoring. And if you have any additional questions, you can most likely just hit me up. And most certainly hit me up, and I will answer all the questions that you may have. I hope that summed it up for you.
Thank you. Other questions?
We just have one in the Q&A about when that program will begin.
Yes, I saw that. Hi, Jessica. The program will start in the fall semester. So the applications will go out sometime soon. The applications will go out sometime soon, hopefully by next week, the application call and deadline. And so we will hopefully be able to identify you all by the early summer, and it will start in the fall semester. Fall 22.
Other questions?
I can add something. So, when I'm out talking to communities about this great work, one of the things I hear a lot is, well, but we have so much content to cover, we don't have time to do these other things. So there's a mindset that there's content, and that's the most important thing. Can you talk about how you shift from inputs to outputs? And from how did you yourself, if you had that block, how did you get over it to thinking about what's really important here is what the students are learning, not making sure that I go through every, line on the textbook page, or however you conceptualize my question. What was the internal struggle you went through as faculty to figure out how to, approach that issue? Because I'm sure that was part of the revision, right?
Sure. Yeah, I can start, and I'm sure everyone will have their own thoughts. And this is something I think I encountered maybe within my first year of teaching, right? Teach better or teach a lot. And when you realize that students will only retain about 10% of what you lecture anyway, you can cover a whole lot. But if students don't remember it, don't care, don't ever learn it, what's the point of talking about it? So what you come to realize, first of all, is that you don't give up content. Because if you're teaching better, students are learning more, and they're learning broader and deeper because they are empowered to learn. And when you talk about what's important, we learn throughout our whole lives. So if you give students the skills to learn, it doesn't stop when they walk out of the classroom, but it continues and it expands, I would say, exponentially. The other thing I learned or I thought about was think about your objectives. In 5 years, what do you want students to learn? Do we care if they remember this tiny little detail about this specific little process? Or is there something bigger? Is there some connection that's going to matter? And so if we start there with where we want our students to be at the end of the semester in 5 years, that helps us put a framework about what is important and then figure out now how are we going to teach that in a way that they're learning content and process and skills. So I don't know if my colleagues have other aspects to add to that, but that would be my start.
I'll add that I think it was really important for us all in our department to come together, and really when we did start talking about those objectives, what we were realizing was there were overlapping themes throughout our class. And so we could take out content in one class if it's going to be taught in another. And so what that did allow us to do was create flexibility within our courses. And so I felt comfortable being able to take out something knowing it was going to be taught someplace else and vice versa. And so we were able to then scaffold our classes to really, once we said, what are all the objectives at the end that we want the students, how are we going to get them there? And we really did just go class by class and through the overall objectives. But it took us coming together and being in a room and really talking about how we were going to develop our program. Yeah.
I'll just add to that as well, that it's a continual process working with each other. I know that the math department and the chemistry department has talked a lot about how we teach a particular topic. Some of the students were learning it in the math course and then getting to chemistry and saying they hadn't seen it before. We said, well, that's not true. Let's talk about why it doesn't look familiar. So we've made a conscious effort to continually discuss how we're presenting the material, so that maybe if we aren't spending as much time in one particular class, they're seeing it the exact same way when they get to the next one. So it helps trigger that memory. So again, to deepen the learning, like Dr. Deboy was saying.
I wanted to add that at least for me, it is something that it changes by semester, because for me it's also important to see what my students are learning. There's no point for me to continue with the material if they still do not know how to do one important task, right? Or they don't understand one important topic. So I'm always I have my goal, I have all the topics I would like to cover, but everything could change a little bit throughout the semester because I need to tailor, right, everything for my students. I need to make sure they're learning, but also like making sure they're prepared, right, for the next.
Yeah, I want to add that you said, I someone from South Asia and from China, that in our curriculum, our content knowledge is so heavy. Like we are learning college content knowledge in high school, we are learning high school content knowledge in elementary, in middle school. And what's the result? The student fed up after high school, they just drop. I don't want to learn anymore. So I think the student emotion is very important too, is after taking course, the student want to learn more on that topic. Because we can never teach enough for the students. They have to learn for themselves for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
I tell my students, if I can't tell you why we're working on this concept, then maybe I should be talking about it.
We have just a couple minutes before our break. Are there any other questions?
Just, we talked about inclusion today and everything like that. So for students who aren't on a traditional STEM path, but need the experience that STEM majors will have, is there any way that they could get on board with some of those research projects without actually taking those classes?
Yeah, so we have different types of opportunities. One could be, you could take a specific class. So depending, I think you would want to talk with your advisor and any of us and come and talk with us about opportunities, because there are opportunities on campus. There are classes that you could take depending on what your major is and what classes you might be interested in taking. And then there also have been Mellon grants, which are across the disciplines. So I think we have even had our STEM faculty work with students who are not STEM majors on projects. And then there also are external opportunities too. And any faculty member would be happy to talk with you. What would be best would be a one-on-one conversation where we look at what are your goals? Where do you want to go? And then we tailor the experiential learning for what would be best for you. And that's one of the things you'll see. It's not a research experience that we require. It's an experiential learning opportunity because it should be aligned with what you want to do. It should help you move in the direction that suits your goals. So I'd encourage you to come and talk with any of us, and we're happy to help you think about different opportunities. And many majors have either a requirement or support for internships, including Handshake, our career center as well.
There's one question in the chat. I don't know if anyone saw it, but I want to go ahead and address it because I think it's a pretty important question. It's a student. She's an international student, and she's asking about what things Trinity is doing to kind of open up more opportunities for her, because it's kind of harder for her to find opportunities. And I'm so glad you asked that question. And so one example of that is the SURE program. Yay, right? That does not have a citizenship requirement or issue. We don't care. We just want you to be able to learn, and we want you to be excited about learning. That is the requirement, right? So just to get a little more technical though, that program is funded by a private foundation, right? The Sloan Foundation. And so we are currently, the science faculty, we are on the hunt. We are combing through the websites. We are combing through our networks, trying to find other granting agencies and private foundations who will allow us to support students who are like you and or who are in the situations that you may be in, because science, STEM education doesn't stop. No matter what your citizenship status is, education doesn't stop. And if you have a thirst for learning, if you have a thirst for growing, we are here to support it. So we are working very hard to identify those opportunities. Dr. Casiano has worked very hard at compiling a list of opportunities that are inclusive. We call them inclusive opportunities. And we are also looking for funding to support those students and opportunities so that, you can get a little spend the money while you're learning, right? So thank you for that question. And if you have specific, like Dr. Deboy said, if you have specific goals and specific things in mind and you just need help navigating, please reach out to me or any of the beautiful masked faces that you see at the front of the table, and we will be here to help you on the ground with you. We are with you. That's the point. We are with you in this process.
And so thank you to all of you for your participation, questions, support, and it is break time.
Can I just say something? I'm just going to say it from here. First of all, what a magnificent group of faculty. Thank you so much. And I want the slides. I hope you send me the slide deck so I can use that in our next grant proposals to others. The second thing is on the comment about international and undocumented students. Our friend Don Graham also raised this in a recent visit to Trinity about how we help our undoc students get to the next step. And I'm very on this with you. So I would love the information. If you have information, we should all pool our information and come up with a very clear strategy, because our students are too good to just leave them worried and dangling out there, right?
Yes.
So let's work together on that. The third thing is our noon keynote speaker, Nina Tandone, is here.
Oh,
She's over in room 101 preparing. I hope you can come back to hear her. She's an example. I heard the student up here ask, I'm not a science major, but I want to be involved. She's a scientist, but she's also a business entrepreneur. And she created her own business around the development and growth of human tissue. And if you're a business major or a non-science major and you want to learn about business, come hear her talk about how she did that along with her science. So this program is fabulous. Also, the student research posters are out there in the lobby. They're fabulous. So thank you all. The day continues. Take a break.